Hello everybody and Guten Tag Freunde. It is I, the Teutonic Plague, coming at you with another episode of the one, the only, Grains of Truth. That's right, except no substitutes, folks, like it says on the screen. Because this is an official YouTube video from the Teutonic Plague. And before we get into anything at all, alright, I want everybody to please, for the love of God and everything right, good, righteous, and holy, like this video, subscribe to this channel, alright? I want you to spread the good word. Well, I mean, we got buttons below the player that link to pretty much every social network in existence. And what they're going to allow you to do is they're going to allow you to share the video to the social network in question. And what I want you to do is I want you to press those buttons and press them hard. Alright? Use and abuse the like button. Use and abuse that subscribe button. And by God, use and abuse those share buttons, those social networking buttons. And spread the good word. Make it more viral than the bubonic plague that ravaged Europe in the 14th goddamn century. Woo! And let everybody know throughout the United States and across the globe that the Teutonic Plague is in effect and in the house, and it is spreading. We're going to spread this plague, and spread it far and wide. The Teutonic Plague is going to reach pandemic status. Woo! All right. And now I got some announcements for you folks. And first and foremost, this will be the third episode of Grains of Truth for the folks that happen to be keeping track. For the folks that happen to be keeping track, this is the third edition of Grains of Truth. And it is, of course, in the immortal words of Ghost, it is Baller Friday, all right? It is Baller Friday, October 9th, 2015, all right? And I finally figured it out. The reason Ghost calls it Baller Friday. He calls it Baller Friday because it's Friday, all right? It's the weekend. You stay up all night and party. But because on Saturday night, you got to go to bed early so you can get up early to go to church on Sunday. Know what I'm saying? You go and you have a ball till you fall. I mean, that's why we're calling it Baller Friday, for crying out loud. Am I right? Of course I'm right. When am I ever wrong? Always. What? Who said that? Motherfucker. Anyway, it is, of course, Friday, October 9th, 2015, which means that it is time for the official Halloween countdown. We're counting down the days until Halloween. All right? It is 22 days. All right? 22 days until Halloween, you know, of course, and we want to have a happy Halloween, 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 have a happy Halloween, yeah. All right, and that's where I launch into the first announcement. The first announcement is I'm going to make this channel an interactive channel, all right? And do you know why? Here's why. Because I want to hear from you. All right? I want to hear from you people what you have to say about the subject matters and the videos and my channel in general and about me and so on and so forth, some such nonsense. And, well, by God, actually, somebody actually commented on the first edition of Grains of Truth, which, for the folks who were unaware of what the first edition of Grains of Truth was about, it was about religion and my belief system. Daniel Myers, that's his YouTube name, and he said, interesting ideologies, my friend. Will stay tuned, all right? I want to give a quick shout out to him. I mean, he's saying some flattering things about this gentleman right here, and I appreciate that. Daniel Myers, if you're listening, I want to thank you for the kind words. Why don't you hook me up with a subscribe? Why don't you subscribe to my channel so you know when I'm going to be doing my next video? And, you know, I mean, and, yeah. And meanwhile, you're probably still saying some flattering things about this gentleman right here. And I got other videos for you to watch. They're right there on my channel. Teutonic Plague is the channel name, of course. And in regards to your flattering comments, thank you very much. I appreciate that, sir. All right? I appreciate that, sir. That's what I like to hear, man. So, and speaking of subscribing, if you subscribe to my channel, you will officially be one of what I like to call the infected. You will be infected with the Teutonic Plague, and in this case, that's good. It's good to have a case of the Teutonic Plague, all right? And I'd say Daniel Myers, I mean, he hasn't subscribed yet, so he's not officially infected, but he has commented on my video, and his comment was flattering, and which tells me that he likes what he hears and what he sees. So I'd say he's coming down with the Teutonic Plague. He's coming down with it, all right? He's coming down with the Teutonic Plague, all right? And, of course, David Myers, if you subscribe to my channel, you'll be the first of the infected as things stand right now. So, yeah, and as you all know, we got comment sections on the videos. We got a discussion section on the channel. Now, the comments of my videos are going to be for constructive statements and comments and questions regarding this, comments, questions, concerns regarding the subject matters of the video or the video as a whole. I mean, if people want to go onto the comment section and scroll great video, hey, that's definitely okay. I mean, if you want to sit over there and scroll great show, great video, great episode, you know, or you do good work, or you want to scroll flattering things about me, that's definitely fine. I mean, that's great. But for those of you that want to troll me, if you want to troll, here's what you do. Here's how you control the plague without any, virtually no consequences. Go to my discussion section of my channel. It's going to be a graffiti wall, more of a graffiti wall than a discussion section. And every week when the new edition of Grains of Truth or Warcraft lore drops, and I haven't done Warcraft lore because I've been focusing on school, my girlfriend, Grains of Truth, this, that, and the other. But I'll get one out to you as soon as I can. And every week I'm going to read your comments on the discussion section of my channel. And I'm going to call that comment graffiti, because that's what it is. It's comment graffiti. It's a graffiti wall. I mean, you've got the discussion section to say whatever. And I mean whatever the hell it is you want to say, all right? Whatever it is the fuck you want to say. I don't care if you want to troll me. I don't care if you want to, I don't know. I mean, if you flatter me, that's definitely okay. And I mean, for those of you that actually have a constructive, insight into the subject matters of the videos, you might want to go to the comment section of the videos for that, because it's going to be buried in comment graffiti, and I might not get to it. But yeah, and I'm probably going to have comment graffiti in a separate video if enough folks actually partake. I mean, if we only have a small smattering of it, we'll do it at the end of the video. And if we have a lot of it, if we got a lot of folks, we've got a lot of people doing the comment graffiti, I'll go ahead and read the comment graffiti in a separate video. And what's definitely going to be at the end of every video I mean, and the same deal with the comment section of my videos. I'm going to respond to your comments on the air. I'm going to respond to your comments in a video, and same deal with comment graffiti. If we have enough folks doing, you know, the comment section, like constructive stuff in the comment section, we'll go ahead and put that in a separate video, and we'll label that open forum. In fact, I might just always do them in separate videos, just because. But I don't know. I think the end of the video for open forum would make more sense because it kind of ties into the subject matters of the previous edition. And I might do that before I launch into the subject matters, because obviously the previous episode came before this episode that was being done. And that's the culmination of that. I mean, if you've got trolling that you're doing, if you're trolling in the comment section, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete your troll, because the comment section is not the place for trolling. If you want to troll, take it to comment graffiti, troll there. That's where you can troll. And the only consequence you'll have is your comment on the comment graffiti being read, which it's neither bad nor good, so it's one of those just neutral little things. But I'm trying to make this channel more interactive, and I'm gonna do something for Halloween, but more on that when the witching hour draws closer. All right, more on that when Halloween gets to be closer. But in regards to that, those are the announcements for your ass. All right. And according to the bar across the screen, it took, holy shit, 12 minutes to do the intro and announcements, for Christ's sake. But let's get right into the subject matter, shall we? Today in this third edition of Grains of Truth, we're going to be talking about two people. We're going to be talking about Robert Ringer, and we're going to be talking about Machiavelli. All right? But before we get into that, I think it's time to get me my drink. Give me that goddamn drink. It's in a plastic bottle this time. I'm sipping on Mountain Dew. Not Voltage, but the regular stuff. The goddamn regular stuff. Let's go ahead and crack this open and have a swig of our swill, shall we? Roommates are out there causing a ruckus. I mean, god damn it. Anyway, let me take a swig of this. Ah, good shit. And ain't that diet crap either, for Christ's sake. Are you kidding me? Anyway, let's cover Robert Ringer first. All right? Robert Ringer wrote a book which I strongly suggest that you read. It's called Winning Through Intimidation. It's geared more towards the real estate business, but I find that it's got very practical applications in real life as well. And for those of you who are unaware of what the book actually is, and I'm guessing that most of you are, because I don't think very many people have, I don't know. That's all right. But he proposes a few theories in that book. And the first theory which he proposes is the theory of reality. Now, this theory states that if you do not acknowledge reality and accept it for what it is and make it work for you, it will automatically begin to work against you. All right? Let me say that again. If you do not acknowledge and accept reality for what it is and make it work for you, it will automatically begin to work against you. Now, folks, I think it's time for, I think it's time for an example. Let's do an example. So you got this guy, and just for shits and giggles, let's go to the Middle Ages, all right? Let's go to the Middle Ages, all right? Well, more like the Renaissance. And why it's the Renaissance will come into play later. But we're in the small German state of Vendenrhein. Now, in Vendenrhein, there lives a 10-year-old kid named Wilhelm, and he's the son. Let's be nice to Wilhelm. I'm feeling generous today. I mean, it is Baller Friday, so let's be nice. And we'll say that he's the son of a wealthy merchant. And his name, for the sake of the discussion, we'll call him Frederick. Now, Wilhelm is not Frederick's only son. He's got a younger brother named Karl. Now, the reason I say that is because Frederick has made it clear to Wilhelm that if Wilhelm does not become a merchant as the eldest son and heir, he's not going to inherit anything. That's the reality. The wish is Wilhelm wants to be a priest. I mean, he's 10 years old. He's got dreams. He wants to be a priest because, you know, he comes from a family of good Catholics. All right, good Catholics who can theologically think for themselves. Good Catholics. And I explain more about the difference between a Catholic and a papist in my second edition of Grains of Truth. So no, papist is not a religious slur here. It's a group that's different from the Catholics. Catholics can theologically think for themselves and decide what not to believe and what to believe in. Papists just mindlessly conform to the Vatican. I'm sorry. I don't mean to get off kilter there. But you know, I had to kind of digress a bit. But they're good Catholics. Wilhelm wants to be a priest. But if he becomes a priest, that's the wish. He wants to be a priest and he wants his inheritance. That's the wish. But the reality is if he becomes a priest, he's not going to get the inheritance, and he's doubly fucked too, because this is where the Renaissance comes into play. You're smack dab in the middle of the Protestant Reformation. And in Vendenrhein, for the sake of the discussion, we'll say the Protestants are taking over in Vendenrhein. There's an upheaval between Catholics and Protestants, and the Protestants are winning, all right? So if Wilhelm becomes a priest, not only will he not get his inheritance, but he faces the very real risk of being strung up by an angry Protestant mob in the town square, which, since humans, as I covered in my second video, have this desire, this natural drive to not die, that tends to present a bit of a problem. So Wilhelm needs to acknowledge and accept the fact that he needs to be a merchant in order to get his inheritance, and he needs to make it work for him. And how he can do that is he can apply himself in the lessons that are being taught by the private tutor that the family can afford, because they're the upper middling sort, successful, wealthy merchants. And he needs to study hard and do his job, and when he grows up, do his job and be a merchant and get his inheritance when his father gives it to him. And that's the theory of reality. There's also a theory that Mr. Ringer poses called the Uncle George theory. And what this theory says, basically, from what I gather, is that working long, hard hours doesn't really mean anything. There are a lot of folks out there who say, oh, if I work long, hard hours, I'll make enough money to be rich and retire when I'm 30. But no, that doesn't mean very much, and here's why. Let's say that old Wilhelm's got a friend, and let's call him, let's call him Christoph. All right, Christoph. He's got this friend named Christoph, and old Christoph, he's a farmer. And being a farmer, that's a hard fucking job. That's a hard living to earn, because you have to work long, hard hours. But that's not what's going to make you money. What's going to make you money is how well you do in a particular given year. I mean, if you get a good crop, that's great. I mean, not only do you have taxes to pay to your liege lord, because this is the Renaissance. We got, not only can you pay your lord his taxes, but you can also keep some for yourself and set some aside to go to market and sell that and make some capital. I mean, and make money and obtain capital. That's what happens during a good year. But what if there's a bad harvest? This is why farmers want to store food for themselves and their families. Because what if the harvest is bad? I mean, you got to pay the Lord his due, and you got to eat. And if the harvest is bad, you're going to have a hard time doing that. So it's not long, hard hours I mean, oh yeah. Let's not forget if a bunch of fucking bandits come in and infest your farm and just take everything, or if the country's at war and the enemy decides to come in, go through your fields, steal your crops, and loot, pillage, plunder, and this, that, and the other nonsense. Well, I'd venture to say that that's not going to make you very much money, if any at all. All right? So, and that's that. So it's not so much long, hard hours as it is external circumstances. I mean, how much money you make? Yeah, I mean, granted, it is kind of based on how long you work and what you do, but it's also based on external circumstances. Like, what if, in the modern age, what if the company's going under? What if they're downsizing? What if you get laid off? You won't make much money that way, will you? Of course not. But back to the Renaissance Wendenrhein, German state of Wendenrhein. For the next theory. That's the culmination of the Uncle George theory. Now for the next theory, the boy-girl theory, all right? The boy-girl theory states that Teutonic plague is thirsty, get him his drink. No, that's not what it states, but seriously, my throat is a little dry. I need to wet my whistle, folks. Oh, that's good shit. All right. What the boy-girl theory actually says, folks, is that people are not generally going to be satisfied with what they have. They're going to want what they can't have, and they're not going to generally be satisfied with what they already, do have. So years go by, Wilhelm's grown up, and let's, be nice again and say he's a merchant. I mean, he has to be in order for this to actually come into, effectively come into play. He's a merchant. He's not as successful as his father, but he's close. He's close because a good master never teaches his apprentice everything he knows, obviously. But he's close. And he's making a good living for himself. I mean, he's got good clothes, he's obviously inherited the house, and it's a good house. And he decides to spend the day in town and, just lollygag about with a girl that he's talking to. Mind you, they're not official yet, but he's talking to her. And she's an English chick, all right? She's an English chick. Let's call her Elizabeth. All right, now Elizabeth is blonde with green eyes. Looks pretty good. She looks pretty good. She's got a nice kind of curvy figure. She's not a ham bone, but she's not skinny either. She's not emaciated either. She's in the middle. Let's put her in the middle, all right? Elizabeth over there, she's in the goddamn middle, all right? And they're talking. They're not official yet, but they're talking. And the king of Wendenrhein, which we'll call him Maximilian, he is going to make one of his royal progresses. So he goes through the town, soldiers, the king, and this, that, and the other, makes his royal progress, goes through the town, and his daughter, Princess Constance, we'll call her, Constance, is in a carriage, and she's smiling and waving at everybody, and her window's open, and this, that, and the other. Now, the thing you need to understand about Constance is that when it comes to maidens, Constance is pretty fucking fair, all right? She is one fair maiden. I mean, she's got long, voluminous black hair. She's got beautiful sapphire blue eyes. She's got a nice pale complexion, ruby red lips, all supported by this elegant, beautiful neck. She might be wearing a necklace and some earrings. Nothing too flashy. She's got, it's respectable but not too flashy. She's got a nice dress on. I guess what I'm trying to say is Constance is fucking hot. And Wilhelm sees her, and his biological wiring kicks in. We covered this in the second edition. I don't think I need to go too in-depth about biological wiring. If you want to know about that, go back an episode and watch that to get a real feel for the whole wiring scene. His biological wiring kicks in, And the first thing he thinks when he looks at Constance is he says, oh yeah. Oh yeah. How do I get... I want me some of that. I mean, how do I get some of that? How do I get up that girl's skirts? Oh my God, that's what he thinks. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. No matter which way you slice it, there's no way it can work out because she's a princess and he's a merchant. Now, granted, merchants are pretty high up on the social ladder, but they're still not going to be as high up as a princess. Besides which, princesses tend to be, in arranged marriages, and when they got older, they were married off to such and such a guy. And here's what happens with that. The princess can either do one of two things. She can either, well, first they can just not talk to each other. But if they do, if they go that route, she can either turn him down, saying she's too good for him. She could say, oh, I'm too good for you. I'm a princess. How dare you? Or she can actually get to talking with him. But here's the thing. If the two get to talking, you know her father, old King Maximilian, is going to step in. And he's going to say, hey, buddy. She's a princess, you're a merchant. There's no way this is going to work out. I mean, besides which, don't you know that she's already set to marry the Prince of Ziegenvar? So there's no way in hell it's going to work out. So what and this is where the theory of reality comes into play again. The wish is he wants the princess, but the reality is he's not going to get her. So to make that work for him, he's got to accept the fact, he's got to accept the fact, and to make it work for him, he's got to just take Elsa and be happy. Just take Elsa and be happy and shut the fuck up. And that's the boy-girl theory. And now, folks, you think this video's over, but I said we'd talk about two things. We'd talk about Robert Ringer and Machiavelli, so I ain't gonna kill it yet. Oh no, this video is still very much alive, because I gotta talk about the second group of subject matters, and that is Machiavelli. Now, folks, let's go to Ziegenvar. All right, let's go to Ziegenvar. Okay. Their king is named Wolfgang. King Wolfgang of Ziegenvar. Now, why I'm mentioning a king, right from the get-go is because Machiavelli wrote a book. Of course, it's going to be in Italian. Well, the original copy is anyway. It's called Il Principe. Il Principe, the Prince. And I have read The Prince. Of course, I read it in English. But I've read The Prince, and it's a good read. And Machiavelli was the Robert Ringer of his day. Granted, he wasn't a real estate agent. He was a clerk. I don't know if he was a clerk for the Borgias or the Medicis. I think he was a clerk for the Medicis. But if any of you folks want to correct me, or if such is the case, ascertain that I'm right, I'd appreciate that. But he was a clerk, and he wrote this book. And what this book says, he posted, he said a lot of things in that too. And one of the things he said was that the greatest fortress a prince can have is the loyalty of his people. Well, and this is very true, and here's why. All right? So you got Ziegenvar, the whole thing, and you got King Wolfgang. We don't know if he's good yet, because King Wolfgang can go one of two routes. He can either A, be a tyrannical piece of fuck shit. He can be a tyrannical piece of motherfucking shitwad clit bastard, or he can be a good king. Let's say he decides to go the tyrannical piece of shit route. All right. Now, every self-respecting, learned Ziegenvarishman knows that Ziegenvar is divided into 4 equal provinces. 4 equally sized provinces shared among 4 nobles. The provinces are in the north. We're going to refer to the nobles by their provinces, by the way. In the northwest, you've got the Lord of Kythe. In the northeast, you've got the Lord of Zeton. In the southwest, you've got the Lord of Heisen. And in the southeast, you've got the Lord of Schlogen. Now, the army with, now it's time to count soldiers. Let's count heads. So for the army, Maximilian's got 2,000 guys. The Lord of Kythe has 3,000 guys. Zeton's got 2,000. Schlogen's got 1,000. He's weak. And Heisen's got 1,000. He's also kind of weak. Now, altogether, Ziegenvar's got a population of 2 million souls. All right? We got the 9,000. We got the 9,000 soldiers in total, of course. But we also have to take into account the 600,000 skilled workers. All right? And the 1,393,000 peasants that populate the region. Now, the reason the peasants are important is here's why. The lords can influence the peasants through the use of propaganda, because this is after the invention of the printing press, of course. They can utilize propaganda and explain to the peasants why Maximilian, why he's such a bad guy. And they can piss him off and incite a rebellion, because the lords are going to get, the lords are going to get together in their little council, and they're going to say, King Wolfgang sucks. He taxes us too much, and he treats his peasants like absolute shit. We don't want that shit. Yeah, kill the king, kill the king, kill the king. They're going to get together and try to incite a civil war. And here's where strength comes into play. Now, as you kind of caught me red-handed in the second edition, folks, I play World of Warcraft. I ain't going to apologize for it either. I play World of Warcraft. All right? And in World of Warcraft, the current level cap is 100. Now, when Legion drops, and it's going to drop, well, we don't know when it's going to drop. Hopefully sometime later this year or next year. Hoping for this year. Fingers are most assuredly crossed, my friends. My faithful listeners. But the max level you can get to now is, of course, going to be 100. So, here's the deal with the men, all right? You got Kythe and his first you got Wolfgang and his 2,000 men. They're level 95 because he's the king, they're his guards, they're the strongest. You got the Lord of Kythe with 3,000 men, let's make them level 80. You got Zeton with his 2,000, they're going to be level 70. You got Schlogen with his 1,000, he's the weakest, he's going to be level 30. And Heisen's going to have 1,000 men too, but let's make him level 50, alright? And all the peasants are, of course, going to be level 1. The skilled workers are not going to play into this, because you need skilled workers to, when it comes to war, you need merchants to make capital so you can pay the bills and grease the palms, and you gotta pay the bills, you gotta grease the palms, you gotta buy the yachts. So, yeah, and that's why you gotta have skilled workers like merchants. You gotta have blacksmiths to make weapons and armor. You gotta have carpenters to make ships and siege equipment, and all this other stuff. So the 600,000 skilled workers are not going to be required to join the army because, well, their skills are needed for the war effort. We need those skills for the war effort. Now, but all these peasants are level 1. Now, secret message to Wolfgang. If you're a tyrant, which in this case you are, guess how long of a reign you're going to have, Your Majesty? Yeah. Your level 95s have got to go up against a bunch of level 80s, 70s, 30s, and 50s, and level 1s. Alright? But, I mean, what you got to remember is, I mean, don't worry about the peasants, alright? They're only level 1, alright? All 1,393,000 of them. And the soldiers, They're way, way lower level than you. All 7,000 of them. And you've got how many men? 2,000 level 95s. Yeah, this is going to be a short war. I can tell you that right goddamn now, alright? Yeah, your ass is going to be de-fucking-throned, Wolfie. And on top of that, let's say the small Italian state of Tarantellia comes in and decides to go to war with you. If you're a tyrant and your people are in a civil war, they'll either A, take your country easily because you're in a civil war, or B, B, the citizens of your country are going to go out to their people waving the flag, waving the white flag and carrying the olive branch and saying, "Okay, we surrender. Take us over." That's what the Dutch did in New Amsterdam. Stuyvesant was a complete asshole. And he went to war with everybody, and the English, they were going to march in, but the citizens marched out, and they said, "We surrender, take us over." Look it up. Google that shit, for fuck's sake, all right? And that's the culmination of that. I mean, good lord. But let's say that Wolfgang goes the opposite direction. He's good King Wolfgang, all right? And if he's a good king, obviously the nobles are going to have the peasants thinking that, oh, Wolfgang, he's a nice guy, he's a real sport, and the lords are going to get together, because the lords are going to get together, and they're going to say, "Oh yeah, oh, Wolfgang, he's great, he's okay, he's a good king, he does his job. I mean, yeah, he taxes everybody, but he doesn't tax them too much, and so we understand. I mean, he's got to grease the palms, he got to pay the bills, and he's got to buy the yachts. So we understand that." Yeah, and so we're going to get these leaflets out. We're going to get these town criers out, and we're going to tell these peasants that Wolfgang's a good guy. And if the people are loyal, then you're presenting the united front to Tarantellia, who's decided to invade. And they're going to beat these Tarantellians back, and Tarantellia is going to be all, no, I don't think so. This is not a good idea, no. And let's say that and for the next saying, people must either be treated generously or destroyed. Which I can agree with, which is another thing that I can agree with. So, if Tarantellia invades and Ziegenvar counterattacks, let's say they win the war and they end up conquering Tarantellia. Now, Wolfgang's either got to do one of two things. He's got to either be really nice to the people, so he's either got to kill off most of the population so that they're too scared to rebel, so that they don't rebel, or they can't effectively rebel because they're going to be outnumbered hopelessly, or he's got to be real nice to the population so that they don't see a reason to rebel. Because if he's really nice to them, they're just going to sit over there and say, "Yeah, he's nice. Why rebel? He's good." And if he destroys them, if they have a population of 1 million and he kills everyone but like 100,000. I mean, they're going to be too scared to rebel, and even if they get up, they're going to be too scared to rebel, and they're going to look at this army, they're going to maybe think about it, but then take one good look at the Ziegenvarish soldiers that are patrolling their streets, and they're going to say, "Oh my god, I have no balls!" Or if they actually do get the sack to rebel, if they actually do grow a fucking sack and decide to rebel, here's how the whole thing's going to go. Dun, dun, dun! I think I'm a badass until I attack Ziegenvar. I mean, seriously, they're going to be wiped on out. They're going to be wiped the fuck out, for Christ's sake. And that's the whole, yeah. But I'd rather treat them nicely were I king, and here's why. Machiavelli says that it's better to be feared than loved. No, wait a minute now, Niccolo. Machiavelli's first name, Niccolo Machiavelli. Wait a minute now, Mr. Machiavelli. You yourself said that the greatest fortress a prince can have, and he's talking about a ruler in general, of course, not just a prince, the greatest fortress a prince can have is the loyalty of his people. So by saying it's better to be feared than loved, you're kind of contradicting yourself. That's contradictory. If people are afraid of you, they're not going to be loyal, they're just going to be afraid of you. But if the people love you, then they're going to be loyal for a very good reason, not just through fear. I answer that it's better to be loved than feared, because the people are more likely to be loyal if they love you, if they like you. All right? And this is why I'd rather be really nice to these people, because if you're nice to them, they see no reason to rebel, and on top of that, if you're a good ruler, they see you for the good ruler that you are, and they're loyal because you're good at what you do and they like you. And that's the whole thing about that. All right? So, for Machiavelli to be sitting there saying, the greatest fortress a prince can have is the loyalty of his people, and it's better to be feared than loved, that's contradictory. That is a contradictory statement. All right? All right. So, I think that's about the culmination of that particular nonsense. So, but before I go, I'm going to give some shout-outs, all right? Shout-out to Wiz. I discussed Wiz in my previous video, in the previous episode of Grains of Truth, when I discussed biological wiring. You might know who he is. All right? Shout out to David Myers. Your comment was very flattering, and I appreciate that, sir. Why don't you hook me up with a subscribe while you're at this, all right? There are a couple of places I go to for comedic gratification, if I want a good laugh. I go to College Humor, and I go to Animation Domination High Def. Not Animation Definition High Def, but Animation Domination High Def. I said definition in the last video. I meant domination. So shout out to College Humor, shout out to Animation Domination High Def, shout out to the folks who are watching this, of course, and there are a few Let's Players I like, so shout out to Markiplier, shout out to the Stalinator, alright? Shout out to Tetra Ninja, of all people, Tetra Ninja, he's good too. And those are the shout outs, so like this video, subscribe to this channel, and spread the good word. Share this motherfucker on the whole social networks, and let everybody know, across the United States and throughout the globe that the Teutonic plague is spreading, has entered the building, is in effect, and in the house. All right. And, of course, if you feel that you haven't gotten your fair fix of Grains of Truth, if you feel that you haven't gotten your fair fix of the Teutonic Plague, then, by God, you can watch the rest of my videos on the channel. You can even click my channel name to access my channel. Ain't the folks at YouTube nice? Making the name clickable so you can go to the channel. That way you can watch my videos and comment on them. You can go to the discussion section and do comment graffiti. I mean, ain't life grand, folks? I mean, life is pretty cool sometimes. But in the meantime, folks, I think I'm going to kill it here, all right? So, Auf Wiedersehen, and of course, as always, stay Teutonic. I'm out of here! Woo!